Thank you for staying with BizCheck here on KBC Channel 1. In this second hour of the program, we would like to have a conversation on matters dairy farming, how to increase the production of dairy as well as the uptake and opening up new markets for dairy farmers. To have this conversation is Alex Gathii. He is the Managing Director of Tanolop Consultancy Limited. He is a dairy consultant. Thank you for staying with us, or rather for joining us here.
Thank you, Betty.
Right. Now, the situation is that the dairy farming, or dairy, is the largest subsector of the agriculture in Kenya.
Yes.
It accounts for about 6 to 8% of the country's annual gross domestic product. What does this say about now the positioning of this subsector in Kenya's economy?
Thank you, Betty, for having me. I say hi to every viewer in Allow the Country and beyond. Dairy sector is as important as tea sector. Tea sector brings in about 180 billion Kenya shillings. Dairy sector brings in about 150 billion, so annually. So those are good statistics. And if you look at the global scenario, Africa is producing 5% of the global milk. It's just too low.
It's negligible.
And out of that to 5%, about 30-40% comes from the sub-Saharan Africa, including the South Africa. So Africa is a milk deficient continent. Yet the milk consumption is going up by 7%. And the growth of the sector is about 3%. So the production is lagging behind the demand. And very soon you'll end up Africa becoming a net importer of milk and milk products. So something needs to be done. We need to change a few things here and there. We need to change a few business models and financial models so that we are able to compete globally in milk production. And the elephant in the room is Africa has so many cows producing less. In fact, the African average is about 4 liters per cow per day. Kenya is about 6-7 liters per cow per day. That's the milk production. That's too low. Whereas the other jurisdictions, the Israel, the Netherlands, and the US, they're doing about 25-30 liters per cow per day. So the scenario is not very good. Many farms are closing down. And those who are trying to start up, they go for 5 years and then they close down, or maybe they can't break even. There are several challenges that needs to be addressed.
Okay. Before we get into those challenges, just to put it into perspective, about 85% of the dairy cattle in the Eastern Africa region are in Kenya. That puts the Kenyan dairy farming industry in a very good place in terms of possible markets that they could be accessing. Are we accessing them?
That's a good point, Betty. We are not accessing those markets because our production statistics, we are producing 5.2 billion liters of milk every year. And we are consuming about 5.6 billion liters. So in essence, we have a deficit of about 400 million liters. So our exports in terms of dairy milk and milk products is not well structured and well placed. Kenya is strategically placed. It can import very easily to the Middle East, to the rest of Africa, to the milk deficient Ethiopia. Nigeria is a milk deficient country. So if we can be able to double the milk production within Kenya from 5.2 to 10.4 billion, which is very possible to do that, then we'll be able now to be able to export. But we also need to address the issues of milk quality, the aflatoxins, the antibiotics, the somatic cells count. So those are some of the things that we need to address.
Right.
And the big question, the $1 million question is, do we increase production or do we increase productivity? The production trends world over are moving towards increasing productivity. Just think about it, Betty. Kenya, we have about 1.4 million dairy farmers, having about 4-5 million dairy cattle. Honestly speaking, and our production figures are so low, we need to change a little bit of that.
Okay.
Probably we reduce the size, the head of the size, increase the production, probably to 15 up to 20 liters per cow per day. And that can be done. It's not a no-brainer. I mean, it's not rocket science.
The journey to increasing this production, of course, lies with supporting the smallholder farmer, because most of the dairy farming in Africa is done by the smallholder farmer.
Yes.
So what needs to be done exactly to address these challenges faced by the smallholder farmer?
Okay.
And if you could start by first even mentioning those challenges.
Betty, I'm a certified cow signal trainer. I'm a USA champion of church. I'm an alumni of Gathii College. I trained in dairy farming. And for the last 16, 17 years, my company Turnolop has been working with farmers in 9 African countries. And I'm a little bit hesitant just to say that we exclusively go to small-scale holder farming. Because other than India, that has a bit of well-structured small-scale farming, majority of the milk producers, remember what we talked about, Africa is only producing 5%.
Yes.
And that is where the small holder farmers are. Why are we not producing more? So unless we go to India and copy a little bit of that, we do a bit of benchmarking and best practices. We borrow some of the best practices from India. I would go for a hybrid system where we support the commercial dairy farmers. They produce more milk. They enjoy the economies of scale. There is a high quality of that milk. And then they can be able to make a bit of profit. Then we also look at a subsidized or a guaranteed minimum return system for the smallholder farmers. Because again, we want them to support them and to be able to earn a living from their dairy enterprise. Otherwise, as we speak right now, majority of those 1.3 dairy farmers, they can't break even, they can't make a profit because the feeds are so high, the feed cost is very high, the quality of those feeds is very low, and again we need to ask the government to implement the Standard Act. Why is the government and the Kenya Bureau of Standards and any other agency, including the Kenya Dairy Board, allowing all these substandard feeds in the market? Input, the dewormers, the alkalicides. Why are we exposing our farmers who are not scientists just to some marketing gimmicks in the market, and somebody just goes on air and all over, and then the product is flying off the shelves, whereas the protein content is low, the energy content is low, it has aflatoxins, anti-nutrients. So I'm calling the government to save the dairy sector in Kenya, and we must act now. Failure to which many people will de-invest from the dairy sector and will become a net importer of milk and milk products. Otherwise, the future of dairy sector in Kenya and in Africa is bright if we shape up. We need a paradigm shift in the way we are doing things.
So what will it take to move from the largely smallholder farmer dairy farming to the extensive farming?
Okay, let's borrow a little bit from Israel and Netherlands and sometimes in Denmark. They have put up some feed centers and some dairy farms. Let's also borrow from Al-Malai in Saudi Arabia. They have put up a big dairy farm, 30,000, 40,000 cows in one farm. You are able to produce a lot of milk at the lowest cost possible with the highest efficiency, enjoying the economies of scale, and you're able to have your milk produced at very low cost of high quality, and then you take it to the market. You can do value addition. Yeah, so those are some of the areas that we need to look at. The cooperative way, the cooperative farms. Can the cooperatives within Kenya come up with some dairy farms? If you want to invest 10, 20 cows, you don't have to own a dairy farm. Just to go to Mount Kenya Central or Akulima Dairy in Nyeri, they have a 10,000 or 20,000 dairy unit. Just give them, put your 5 cows or 10 cows or 100 cows there. You are a dairy farmer, yet you work in Nairobi. And then they are able now to feed those cows, to give them the best management, and we're able to produce our milk globally competitively, and of high quality in terms of those quality parameters we have talked about.
Yes.
So that's the way we need. Otherwise, this idea of protecting livelihoods from the small-scale farmers, sometimes I find it like is a knee-jerk reaction. Unless we go the Indian way, That's something that is not going to work. Let's borrow from Turkey. I'm a little bit traveled. So I've, in terms of Turkey, or rather I've done a bit of research. Turkey, if you want to invest right now, Betty, and you have about, let's say, 60 million, the government will give you, your project is 100 million, the government will give you a grant of 40 million, free. Can we come up with such models, such incentives, so that we are able to become self-sufficient in milk and milk products, and also have for export and create employment?
Right. Of course, the role of government would be to create a conducive environment for investors to come in. What will it take to get that kind of environment for investors to come in and do the extensive or commercialized farming? And at the same time, you said hybrid, you're advocating for a hybrid model, because there are already these farmers who are doing the smallholder. What can be done to reach them directly? Those are two questions, please.
Betty, you are in Nairobi, and you can see how we are developing. We have skyscrapers coming up every now and then. Young guys, old guys, business gurus are investing in real estate. We have the Nairobi skyline is like any other town in the world. I've been to Hong Kong, I've been to Europe. What I'm seeing in Nairobi is like any other skyline. Why are people investing in real estate and not in dairy sector? That is a question we need to look at. You know, I find it funny when people talk about we need to make agriculture sexy, attractive to the youth. That to me is nonsense. Who is making the real estate attractive even to the youth? Why are the youth investing millions of dollars in ICT or in other sectors, in energy? What we need in agriculture, and more so in dairy sector, is business modeling, financial modeling. Can Kenya government or Kenya Invest present a bit of, or even the private sector in Kenya, the KEPSA of this country, like the Kalo, Kariuki, the CU, and that group, the private sector and the public sector, Kenya Invest, Dr. Ikiara, come up with business opportunities, business models, where if you have your $2 million or $10 million or $1 million, you can easily invest and inject into the dairy sector, invest in dairy production, invest in milk processing, and those are the returns. If you invest this amount, you're going to get your 10, 15% or 20% return on investment. Can we do a bit of defining of the sector so that we are able to look at the whole value chain, we map it, look at the business opportunities, develop business models? Like now, if you walk to Kenya Invest, is a government agency, or you walk to KEPSA, they have something to tell you. Betty, put your $5 million, put your $1 million, put $100,000, and then you are able now to get this kind of returns. That way, we are able now to attract even the private sector.
Right.
But as we stand, agriculture in Kenya is underfunded. The private sector is only giving 4%. The government is only giving another 3.8%. Yet we say agriculture is the backbone of our economy. How is it our backbone, whereas we are underfunding it?
In it.
Yeah. If you look at the loan portfolio within the private sector, it's only 4%.
To the agriculture sector.
Yes. And yet it's the backbone. How are we going to cause an industrial revolution in Kenya and beyond without investing in agriculture?
Okay.
There was the Malabo Declaration that Kenya is a signatory to.
Yes.
And to some extent Maputo Declaration. We committed as a country to invest at least 10% to agriculture related, of our budget, the agriculture related investment. Yeah. And
annually we are yet to hit that target.
Yes.
Yes. So, of course, the part of it you've mentioned is the production cost that is driving up the eventual cost to the consumer.
Yes.
How can the production cost in the dairy sector be brought down?
Good question. That could easily do as a research question.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. And an institution can go ahead and do a research on the same. And that brings in something about research and development. How much are we investing? Look at the US. Between 10 to 15% of their budget goes to the research. In Kenya, is 0.05% goes to research and development. And you find about half of that money is going to administrative costs. we have underfunded our research institutions. It's about high time we fund our research institutions, and then we bring in a link between the research institution and the market, and the farmers and the sectors, so that the research they conduct is demand driven, so that like now what you're saying can be able now to be plugged. Which models, what breeds, cassava as a source of energy, potatoes as a source of energy. Now we can be able now to say these are the way now to make our dairy industry vibrant. Yes.
Okay, let's now talk about the value addition bit. Of course, there have been times when milk has been poured in this country, liters, quite a number of liters, because of the overproduction, so to say. The pasteurization of milk is now happening.
Yes.
How far do you think we've come in that journey?
We have come from far. Today, I think we are processing about 30-40% of our milk in this country. And most of our milk processing plants are operating between 40 and 60% capacity. We can easily do 1 million liters, up to 1.5 million liters in this country of milk, comfortably. So that we have come from far. But why should somebody pour milk or give to dogs and cats? Can we even have a proper program? A farmer in Nyandarua is pouring out milk, becoming even an environmental nuisance, whereas a kid in Kibera is dying of lack of protein and vitamins. I mean, there's malnutrition in Kibera and Madale and other slums in Kenya, and other poverty-stricken areas in Kenya, and somebody is pouring out milk, vegetables, fruit, potatoes. Fruits are rotting in Wakulima market just because there is no market. Whereas we can have a proper program. I was in Brazil and they have a proper program. Just before the fruits and the vegetables within a certain market becomes of zero economic value and becomes a nuisance, again a cost now to dispose the garbage, they're given to the poor. I mean, we have become so capitalistic to the level that you'd rather throw the fruits in the market, you would rather even pour the milk other than give to your neighbor or somebody at least in another area. Can we come up with a proper program, at least to save the 40% post-harvest losses? So that is thinking outside the box. But if we come back to the box, we would say, let's come up with the cooling plants, what are they called? The milk cooling plants for bulking and cooling, which some of them we have put in the country all over, and they are operating at a capacity. I think it's high time we also put our priorities right. We would rather have started in the production than putting up the coolers. The money we have spent putting so many coolers in this country, I wish we invested the same money in the production side. And even if we put, some cooling ways, at a makaa, you can even put shako and put your milk there and it is able to survive.
Okay, we shall be getting into that in a little bit after the break. But before we go on break, you had mentioned that you want to give something to the farmers who are watching the show. Could you kindly talk to them? This is your camera.
Oh, good. I normally make the Tanolo Maziwa Chumvi, and I want to give 100 kilos to the farmers. I want to support them, actually. My number is 0. Those who are going to call after this, or even SMS, or even on WhatsApp, at least 10 farmers or 15 farmers, I'll be able to support them. So my number is 0723 33 1611. I can repeat it again. 0723 33 1611. I'll be able to support our farmers because times are hard.
Okay, times are hard. If you are watching the show and you're a dairy farmer or you know a dairy farmer, just call that number 0723 331611 or text. The first 10 farmers will get a share of the 100 kgs of chumvi that is being given out from Tanalop Consultancy Limited. We want to take a quick break. When we come back, we continue talking about how to enhance dairy farming in the country. Do stay with Channel 1. Thank you for your valued company here on BizCheck on KBC Channel 1. In studio, we are having a conversation on matters dairy farming, how to enhance the sector and to ensure that our farmers have new markets, and just what models do we need to achieve to get into commercial dairy farming. Giving us this perspective is Alex Gathii. He is the Managing Director of Tanaloop Consultancy Limited. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you, Betty.
Yes, before we went on break, you were talking about the milk coolers and how that model should have changed, you know, to talk about production fast. I'm of the view that these coolers have saved quite some amount of milk in the past, in the near past. What do you think about that?
For sure, that's very true. In fact, if you look at what is happening in Uganda, I've been to Uganda, and they have developed a very good cooling system for milk. You're supposed to chill milk between 2 to 3 hours after milking. That way, you're able to maintain a low bacterial count. So cooling, there's no doubt. Cooling 3 degrees all the way to about 4 or 5 degrees, that's quite okay. And developing a cold value chain along the daily value chain, that's a dream come true, and we are almost there. But you find in some other areas, those coolers are not being used, or they are underutilized. So what would have been the priority? Is it to develop the production side, or to have the bulking side? So that's the question. That's that maintaining that balance, because you can have a cooler for 10,000 or 5,000 liters of milk, but there is no milk. So what are you going to do with that cooler?
Right.
But there are some areas that coolers are well utilized. In fact, they are able to fill up to the capacity, and they are even asking for the second unit. So that balance is critical. In some other areas, you need to develop the production side, the milk production side. In other areas, you can say, okay, fine, we are well here, and we can move on. Okay,
so you're saying better mapping should have been done in the country?
Yes.
All right. The informal raw milk marketing is still very much rife in the country.
Yes.
And it's what may be sustaining most of the smallholder farmers,
yes.
Yeah? So is there a way that this can be done away with? The raw milk bit of it.
Of course, we have grown, Betty. We have grown. Like now, you're getting milk from your neighbor. So that is within an hour, or in fact, you wait as they finish milking. So that's a market that we may not do away with. Even in Europe, is still there.
Yeah.
That's something that we have grown with. But again, I'm talking as a professional and as a person who was part of the task force that did the dairy regulations under the Kenya Dairy Board, which is doing very well.
Right.
So, as you know, low milk has bacteria, and probably we need to make sure that those bacteria are maintained at low, what we call the low bacterial count. So when you do pasteurization or even cooling, you maintain the quality of that milk. And honestly speaking, as we speak right now, it's by law. You're supposed to sell pasteurized milk, whether you are in a kiosk, a milk bar, or in the supermarket, ATMs. So that way, you'll be able to make sure that you are selling very safe milk to the market. But there is also, as I said, the local arrangement, the neighbors versus the neighbor. Maybe when you go to the rural area, your mom or your dad gives you 5 liters or 10 liters, must it be pasteurized? So that's a market we cannot rule it out.
Yes.
But by law, and it's also a need that we make sure that what is sold in the market has low bacterial count. In fact, should be pasteurized, not sterilized, but at least pasteurized. And it's of good quality, has less, in fact, low aflatoxin, very low allowable levels of aflatoxin, and should have no antibiotics.
Right.
Because that's also another area that we are coming in. You inject your cows, you don't wait for the withdrawal time, and then you take that milk to the market. That antibiotic will get into your system. By the time you go to Aga Khan, I'm not saying you're going to go to Aga Khan for treatment.
God forbid.
God forbid.
Yes.
But we normally get sick.
Yes.
So when that time comes and the doctor needs to give you an antibiotic, you have already been exposed to a higher spectrum antibiotic. So you won't get healed quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is something we call antibiotic resistance, which is another idea that is coming up.
Let's talk about the role of cooperatives.
Yes.
In ensuring that we are moving from small-scale farming, much as they are smallholder farmers, when they come together, there is power in numbers, of course. So what is the role of cooperatives in moving this sector forward?
In fact, most of the economies in the world that has moved very well in dairy sector, and even other sectors, is cooperative. When Mzee Jomo Kenyatta came up with the cooperatives in the 70s and 80s, when the cooperatives movement was very vibrant in Kenya, I wish we maintained that momentum. Kenya could be a very vibrant economy. Yeah, what you call the mid-cam economy or even first world economy. But now the corruption came in, governance and leadership issues came in, corruption came in, and a bit of cooperatives went down. Yeah, like now where I come from in Nyeri, Teto Dairy came down, some other cooperatives came down. But we thank God, for the last 10, 15 years now, there's a bit of vibrancy in terms of cooperatives in Kenya. Meru Central, Lesos Dairy, Wakulima Dairy, there are quite a number of dairies that are coming up. Githuguri Dairy here is a cooperative. So at least now, right now, there is hope. And the only way to save this country is now to maintain that momentum, that cooperative momentum, and ensure that there is transparency and accountability. And now we think about how now the cooperatives can come up with the kibbutz, those dairy farms, big dairy farms like the Al Malai in Saudi Arabia, so that they can have 20, 30, 40,000 cows, and then they produce their own milk. But then that farm is owned by the small-scale farmers. So at the end of the year, you get your dividend. At the end of the month, you get your money, and life has to go on.
Right. Of course, that means production will be increased. Better quality milk.
Yes.
Now, once we have this milk, there is the issue of post-harvest losses and ensuring that there is value addition. Could you speak about value addition in the dairy industry?
Value addition along the dairy value chain, it can be able to create millions and millions of jobs. In fact, in Kenya, we have so many opportunities for young people, for everybody. Like the dairy value chain can employ 30-40% of all the youths in Kenya. Look at the fodder sector. You grow fodder, you sell to the dairy farmer. You see, that is a fodder. Fodder market is a multi-million sector. You grow maize for silage, you grow sunflower, you grow lucerne, you grow anything that is required, sunflower. All these are required to feed the cow. Now get to the cow. You need now people to work in those farms to feed even the feed manufacturers. We'll also be able to, by the way, we are losing a lot of money getting the sunflower, the cotton seed cake, the soya from Malawi, Uganda and Tanzania. We are losing a lot of foreign exchange. What local science is there to grow sunflower or cotton seed cake, or cotton for that matter, that will give us a byproduct, cotton seed cake or soya? Just the other day I was in Kerisho and they're growing sunflower, soya very well. So please, can we come back as a country? Can we come back to our senses? Maybe a very complex problem requires a very simple solution. And that is where we are in the dairy sector right now. Why are we looking for very complex solutions? Whereas you can grow the sweet potato vines, we can grow cassava. In fact, we are promoting cassava as a major source of energy to the cows and the dairy sector. Cassava is growing all over. Kari has developed a very good variety that goes for 3 months, and you're able to get your cassava. Must you get your maize jam from Uganda, fermented? So you can grow cassava from anywhere in this country. So let's look at the whole value chain. Let's see the opportunities. Once now somebody feeds the cows, the milk is produced. And that milk, it becomes a byproduct for now another person to do the processing. That processing, I was in Israel, I studied in Israel for 2 years, and their cottage industry is well developed. You can easily do cheese, very quality cheese. You can do ghee, you can do butter in a cottage industry, backyard. Have your GMPs, good manufacturing practices, have your licenses, go ahead and make your butter, ghee, cheese, and yogurt, and move on with it. So we can develop the cottage industry, create a bit of vibrancy in our economy, inject some, create wealth, and we are good to go.
And we're good to go.
Yeah.
The demand for dairy products is, of course, increasing even with the improved economy in East Africa, especially in Kenya, and also more money, more people moving to the middle class. So that means there are markets that are yet to be captured, right, by the farmers. So how do we capture these markets?
The markets are developing. You find Betty here, I'm not saying you are lactose intolerant, but you find Betty here doesn't want lactose. So you want lactose-free milk. You want, for you to keep the size, you are figure 8. You want low butterfat milk. Is that so? You want organic milk. Yeah? So certain segments of the market are developing, and we need to develop with them. Cheese. A while ago, people are not taking cheese. Today, you find cheese in popcorns, you find cheese all over. So markets are developing, but we as a country, we need to up our game. The people who are doing product development, we need to up our game. I was in Israel, and they have 1,700 milk and milk products in their shelves. Kenya, we are hardly 100. So we need to develop and see. Like now, for you to develop 1 kilo of cheese, you require about 10-12 liters of milk. So if you have 10 kilos of cheese, that's a lot of milk. Yeah. Can we go that way? Must we use margarines and those synthetic whatever things? Can we? It's good we come back to butter and make sure that butter is affordable and it's available all over. Yes.
So do you think that there is enough demand for these, let me call them high-end dairy products?
The market is there, to the level that even some of the embassies in Nairobi, and without mentioning names, they're getting milk from abroad, which can meet certain specifications. So the high-end market is there, the premium market is there. But even the consumer in Kibera or Mathare or in Kagemi, in Nyeri slums, requires to take very quality milk. So let's ensure the milk within our area, within the market, is free from antibiotics, allowable levels of aflatoxins, low somatic cells, low bacterial count, and very good organoleptic properties. It's looking nice, it's tasting nice, The milk has to be good. So as a country, our white gold is milk. Can we work on it? Can we shape up? Can we have a paradigm shift in our business modeling and a financial modeling? Let's just think outside the box. Like now, for instance, can we pay farmers every day? We have every farmer has an M-Pesa system. You bring your 100 liters, you are paid every day. Your money sent to your M-Pesa. That will enable you to have a bit of autonomy in your feed plan. You don't borrow money from banks to finance a dairy enterprise. Can we change some of those things? Because it's becoming very expensive, Betty. A farmer goes to borrow from a bank to feed his dairy farm, to feed his cows, to do his errands. By the time at the end of the month, 12-14% of the money that is going to that farmer goes to paying interest. Can we change a little bit of that and pay that farmer every day? If you pay me 2,000 today, tomorrow you pay me 2,000, I'll think hard how to make the third day to be 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000. That will motivate me. But if you keep my money for 30 days or 2 months,
definitely
there's no motivation. I have borrowed, all those mobile money, there's 1.5% interest rate, all my profit is gone. And that is how we are losing profitability along the dairy value chain.
You mentioned that about 4% of credit in this country goes to the agriculture sector. I'm assuming even lower is going to the dairy farming.
Yes.
Agriculture is largely seen by most lending institutions as a high-risk venture.
Yes.
What model needs to be adopted to ensure that even with this risk that agriculture has, there is credit to the farmers?
That's a good one. Number one, You may find even a bank manager in agribusiness has no knowledge about dairy farming. So it's about high time that even the managers and the agribusiness divisions within our financial institutions, they get trained. We are there to train them so that they understand the business, so that they understand how to make the business profitable. I'm not saying that they become extension officers, but if you want to lead somebody, please just try to understand how can that person succeed or fail. So our agribusiness divisions within our what are they called, microfinance or the banking sector, they need to be trained. We also need to take the dairy investors through trainings even before we give them money. So it's about time. You know, when the World Bank came to Kenya and the IMF in the late 80s and early 90s, they came up with some things that were called structural adjustment programs. And the extension services within this country was brought down. In the early 80s and 70s and 60s, there were those agricultural officers who used to come to your farm and tell you, you're doing right here, you're doing wrong here, please can you do one. Today there isn't. Farmers are just exposed to any information from anywhere, from quacks. Now you see, farmers are exposed to quacks, substandard inputs, very high lending rates and interests by financial institutions, unskilled, sometimes semi-skilled laborers who are not motivated. In fact, I wish I was the president of this country or even the Minister for Agriculture. I would address the HR within the dairy sector. It is so wide. People are getting even workers from outside the country or even some certain parts of the country because especially within certain areas, I don't want to mention areas, but I know them, there are no people who can work in the dairy sector. The greatest headache right now is about the HR, the workers within the dairy farms. And every year, Betty, more than 10,000 graduates are coming out of our institutions in agriculture-related courses.
So the education is there, the educated people are there.
You are educated, but you cannot feed a cow to produce 30, 40 liters.
So what should be done to bridge this gap?
Honestly, a curriculum review by our educations, our diplomas, and our universities. They need to review some of these things. In fact, I'm very happy about the CBC and TVET. The future of this country lies in the TVET and the CBC. Otherwise, you find somebody is a graduate in animal production, he or she cannot feed a cow or cannot manage a farm. I have so many farms where you go, the manager has papers, with due respect. I'm also a graduate, but with due respect. But the farm is doing pathetically. So you are like, how is the quality of our education? How is the quality of our trainings? It's about time that the last year, like look at what the law school does. They have the School of Law.
Yes.
The last 1 year, you go to School of Law. It's like you are practicing law. Can we have the same for agricultural students? The last year, you go to a School of Agriculture. Feed a cow physically for 6 months to produce 30, 40 liters or 50 profitably and sustainably. That way, I can call you a dairy manager.
Right, so that you're working with the numbers. They don't lie anyway.
Yes, but now you just come with your degree or your master's and you cannot manage a farm well. With due respect, let's do a curriculum review. Let's borrow heavily from the TVET and the CBC system of learning.
Right, I think that's a very good point. Let's talk about the role or the place of fintech. Or technology rather in this sector. The technology sector in Kenya has been getting quite some funding. I think it's the third after South Africa and Nigeria in Africa. So that means there's an opportunity there. Do you think the dairy farming sector or the dairy sector is taking advantage of the technology available?
Yes, we are. Of course, ICT. We have some products that are there, like Smart Cow, Cow Pro. There are quite a number of them within. Also, in terms of milking parlors, in terms of liquid cooling and bulking, solar-powered coolers. In fact, that is taking shape in northeastern Kenya and other parts of the country. So we are taking a bit of that technology. But unless and until we change our business models, because the small scale holder farming, it can only benefit from the mobile technology.
Yeah.
A little bit on the bulking, but mobile technology is the only technology that has penetrated. 98% of the farmers have mobile phones. So if you want to send them SMS, if you want to do credit, if you want to do a notification, you want to do record keeping, you can easily do it through the mobile phones. That is something that has penetrated, which is a good thing for the country. And also the internet has also penetrated. But we need to get a little bit higher than that. Dairy farming in Kenya is labor intensive. Anything that is labor intensive, Betty, is very costly. Mechanization is the way to go. I trained in Kibbutz Mizra in Israel, and the farm had 1,600 cows, and we only had 3 workers. This idea of having a whole clan within your dairy farm, with due respect, as much as we are creating employment, we must look at those inefficiencies and deficiencies within your farm. Why is our dairy farming so labor intensive? I think we can create more jobs along the dairy value chain, but within the production sector, let's be efficient. Having 20, 30, 40, 50 people within your farm, it's a headache, with due respect.
Most of the people who argue against mechanization on the farm is literally that they say that people will lose jobs.
Yes. What is the productivity of those people on their farm? It's very low. What is the motivation? Very low. What is their morale? Very low. What is their skills? Very low. So you end up having all the losses. You invest your $3 million, you end up having cows die, no profit, you close down.
So ultimately, if you mechanize, you're even creating more jobs.
You are creating more jobs. Yes, you are creating more jobs because there is a lot of efficiency along the system. So to me, it's about high time that we become quite efficient. Let's address the inefficiencies and the deficiencies along the dairy value chain. And we have developed a template as a company where we normally say doubling the milk production. If I come to your farm, I can easily double the milk production at your farm at the lowest cost possible. Probably, if you allow me, I'll give you the 5 to 10 points how to double the milk production. I'll name them very fast. When we come to your farm for an audit and training, we check at the protein deficiencies. What are the protein sources? How costly, or what is the cost of that protein? How diverse is that protein? We look at the energy deficiencies. What are the sources and the costs and the quantities? We look at the mineral deficiencies. The quality of your chumvi, like now the ones I'm giving them, it's good. It's among the market readers. So you're supposed to give the right quality, quantity at the right cost. We look at the water stress. Are your cows getting enough water? Is it clean, potable water? Is the cow's water point ratio right? For every 3-4 cows, you get 1 water point. May ensure that you wash your water trough every day and ensure that water is available and accessible 24/7, what we call a libitum. Heat stress. The cow barn should have a lot of air circulation. That breeze, you go to coast for breeze and you love them. So that even the cow love that breeze. It's very nice to avoid the heat stress. Social stress, you are supposed to do daily herd segmentation so that there is no social stress. Some cows are in calf, some others are milking, some others are on heat. So suppose you mix it, there will be a lot of mix-up and dangers for that matter. So avoid that. Cow comfort, a cow is supposed to rest 14 to 16 hours. So provide a deep, dry, soft material for the cow to have the comfort as it rests down to make money for you. Those are low-hanging fruit for every dairy investor or dairy farmer. Dairy herd management tools. Deworming. You're supposed to deworm every 3 months. Tick control. Use the right dewormer for that matter. Use the right alkalicide and do it as frequently as it's necessary. Business models. How do you get your input? At what cost? Do you enjoy economies of scale? Do you do your inventory control? Those are some of the low-hanging fruits. Record keeping. Do you have ICT programs? Do you have daily herd management charts for you, at least to keep your records.
Right.
I mean, genetically, are you doing breeding properly? Those are some of the low-hanging fruits that our farmers we can be able to double the milk production in this country and beyond.
Right.
And they require no money. I mean, it's just a matter of knowing...
It's changing how you do things, literally.
Yeah.
I think those are quite some good pointers for farmers who are watching. Let's talk about the role of county governments in now enhancing or just growing this sector. They are closer to the farmer than the national government is. What is their role?
Of course, the agriculture is devolved.
Yes.
But then, when it was devolved, the resources were not devolved. A lot of resources were left in the national government. So, agriculture is underfunded even at county level. I only think of a county or one or two counties that are funding agriculture up to 10%. Others are only 3-4%. And even that 3-4% goes to salaries. So, you devolve a function, but you don't devolve the resources. So, there's a problem, there's a gap there, a funding gap. There's a funding gap, there's a knowledge gap, there's a policy gap that needs to be addressed. So agriculture can be able to turn around the economy of this country, but we must address all these things we are talking about. And some of these things don't even require policies. This country, every problem, Betty, tukipata shida, once we get a problem, a policy. Once we get a problem, an amendment bill.
Task force and committees and commissions.
Now we led up to being a task force country. And then the countries like Rwanda, they just come and pick our policies, go and dust them. They don't even delete the word Kenya. They say, where there is Kenya, put Rwanda.
Put Rwanda.
And then they move on. Botswana, that's what they did. How far are they? In feed rot. So this country, let's get out of those boardrooms where the lawyers want us to spend more time. Let's get to the farm where rubber meets the road and do our things. Some things, they don't even need policies. It's just a matter of goodwill. Our forefathers used to do barter trade. Were there policies? There are some things we don't even need policies and laws. We only need order and a bit of gentleman's agreement, and things will move. And we create wealth for this country. Let's not become so bureaucratic that even borrowing that pen you have, we must develop a policy and an agreement. I think me and you, we can just agree. Give me the pen, I stay for 10 days, I give you back, 1 hour. So let's not become so bureaucratic. These policies, task forces and amendment bills, whereas we are not even enforcing them. If we have to enforce laws, why can't we enforce the Standard Act, which stipulates the dairy meal has to have 14 to 16% crude protein, energy content beyond 3,000 kilocalories, and other parameters. If the solution to this country is laws, then why can't we implement the Standard Act, so that we save the farmers? And these counterfeit dewormers, alkalicides, and inputs that are getting to the market, we do away with them. Can we enforce the laws that we already have? Is it asking too much?
I don't think it is. So as we come to a close of this conversation, what would be your closing remarks?
Thank you, Betty, for having me. I look forward to a next time that we'll talk more and more how to create wealth from the white gold, which is milk, and how to grow our dairy sector. Basically, I'm very happy. My closing remark to farmers is that there is hope. But our government must shape up. Our private sector must shape up. Our financial institutions must shape up. Let's help the dairy farmers in this country. There is hope, but time is running out. So that window of hope, let everybody utilize that opportunity, and let's shape up. Because Africa requires milk from Kenya. Middle East requires milk from Kenya. Let's double the milk production in Kenya up to 10 or 11 billion liters per year. At the lowest cost possible, at the highest quality possible.
Right. Thank you very much for giving us your insights.
You're most welcome, Betty.
That is Alex Gathii. He is the Managing Director of Tanalop Consultancy Limited. What we have been talking about is enhancing dairy farming in Kenya, putting more money in the farmers' pockets and ensuring that the quality of Kenyan milk is higher than it is currently. That is it for BizCheck this morning. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Betty Kiptum, and Lensa Odingo is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Up next is Kurunzi Mashinani. Do have yourself a lovely afternoon. Sorry, Lucy Moura is currently doing the sign language interpretation. Bye-bye.